I'm Seok Choi from South Korea. Today I will present a talk about API Deobfuscator, how to resolve obfuscated API functions in modern Packers. Why API deobfuscation matters? Malwares hide functionalities by API obfuscation. Malware writers use commercial packers such as Deomida or Frame Protect to obfuscate their APIs. And some malware writers use their own obfuscation techniques. They even develop their own custom obfuscators. And so far, there is no deobfuscation tools for modern Packers. I mean, the modern with latest version. For example, regarding Deomida, when we search for Deomida unpacker on Google, then we can find some articles how to deobfuscate and some YouTube videos, the technical details, but they work just on previous versions of Deomida. The latest version is 2.3.5, but the information that internet gives us how to unpack Deomida 2.1 and so on. And there is no x64 unpackers. So I wanted to deobfuscate it, such latest version packed binary files. And I will talk three things. First, API obfuscation techniques. The second, how to deobfuscate it, such the API deobfuscation technique. And I will show you some implementation and demo. Modern Packers use various obfuscation techniques. They use anti-debugging, for example, VM detection, debugger detection, anti-disassembly, anti-tampering, anti-debugger attach, and they often use virtualization obfuscation to lengthen the dynamic instruction trace, and they use polymorphism and metamorphism, that is opposite to code optimization. They lengthen by inserting garbage instructions and API obfuscation. Today's talk focuses on API obfuscation. And API obfuscation techniques can be classified into two. The first is static API obfuscation, that obfuscation techniques are only used compile time, that is packing time. And the second is dynamic API obfuscation. In dynamic API obfuscation, packed executable file contains some runtime obfuscator, and that expands API function code into some memory area. And you can find more API obfuscation techniques on our Museum of API Obfuscation on Win32 of Symantec. In static API obfuscation, API functions are obfuscated compile. There is packing time. It is obfuscated just once, and when we load the binary with debugger, the code is always the same, so it is relatively easy to analyze static API obfuscated binaries. Function instructions and addresses are the same with each execution, although the addresses are moving because of ASLR. In the picture, you can see how API obfuscation is applied. At original entry point, that is, when we unpacked, partly, then we can find original API call is obfuscated into the instruction itself, call function address is obfuscated, so it redirects to other section of the binary. There are obfuscated caller code, and the obfuscated caller code resolve the obfuscated address, or they're doing something different, and finally they go to API function code. But some binaries also obfuscate API function, part of API function code. So here is an example. I made a binary tracer and executed Damida 2.3.3 packed binary files. I packed my own easiest sample code on address 1017. There is a call instruction to another section of the obfuscated file, and there are hundreds of instructions, but most of them are garbage, and they branch into other section, and at last API call is performed by return instruction. The last return instruction directs the control flow to API function code. And for VM Protect, they use return. Their address is not the top of the stack. The return address is somewhere in the stack. In dynamic API obfuscation, API functions are obfuscated during runtime, while unpacking. Both API call instruction and API function code are obfuscated. So, call API function address can be obfuscated sometimes, and not obfuscated in Damida 64-bit. And API function code itself is obfuscated runtime. So when the obfuscated API function address is called, it is directed, the control flow is directed to obfuscated API function code address. That is runtime allocated memory area. And here is another example. I packed this Damida 64 bits. The first instruction in the picture calls to another area. Newly allocated area don't have names, and execute some instructions, hundreds of instructions, and at last they call something, and they don't even call the API function itself, because whole API functions are obfuscated, but they don't obfuscate the API function call inside the obfuscated code. So we can sometimes we can check, set breakpoints on some other point of API function that is called inside the obfuscated API called API functions. Then how we can deobfuscate it?